Okay, here we go. This is session number 75. We are in chapter 10, a chapter entitled The Idols of Sickness. All right, and this section, section 3, is entitled The God of Sickness. Okay. Just a note on that. Sickness, you'll see, I believe he mentioned it in the first paragraph. In the course with Jesus, when he mentions sickness, he's talking about the belief that you're separated from God, all right, and aligning yourself with the ego thought system. Because that's sickness, all right? And then we take on this body, which is one of the idols, and this body gets physically ill, all right, deteriorates, all right, no matter what you try to do, all right. It's like Eckhart Tolle says, just leave an apple on the windowsill, see what happens, all right. This is what we, in our ego thought system, this is what we believe is our self. Okay, so that's one of the idols. Okay, and in another part in the book, Jesus will say, there is no life outside of heaven. Okay, so that takes the idea of sickness a little bit further. Okay, and just one thing I was thinking about one of the last sessions we did, and the decision to forget, I believe, that was 74, and where Jesus is talking about dissociation. You know, you forget what you split off from, you know, and we mentioned the idea, the example of the dissociative identity disorder. And I remember Dr. Wapnick talking about this at one point and saying you could think of it as this, our entire experience here in the world and the universe is, we are one dissociative identity disorder, all right? We're the one Son of God with a dissociative identity disorder diagnosis, okay? Because we're actually one, we just think we've split into many, okay? Just something to ponder, all right? You know, when you can't sleep at night, you know. Or maybe that'll keep you up, I don't know. But let's continue, okay? Session number 75, the God of Sickness. Remember, sickness is the adherence to the belief that you separated from God. You have not attacked God, and you do love him. Can you change your reality? No one can will to destroy himself. When you think you are attacking yourself, it is a sure sign that you hate what you think you are. And this, and only this, can be attacked by you. What you think you are can be very hateful, and what this strange image makes you do can be very destructive. Yet the destruction is no more real than the image, although those who make idols do worship them. The idols are nothing, but their worshippers are the sons of God in sickness. God would have them released from their sickness and return to his mind. He will not limit your power to help them, because he has given it to you. Do not be afraid of it, because it is your salvation. Okay? All right. Your salvation is in your mind. All right? And once again, the idea of salvation is being freed from this experience, this ego experience. All right? Waking up from the dream, so to speak. All right? So, and he said, and he begins the section off with what we would call the atonement principle. He says, you haven't attacked God, and you do love him. All right? So, it's contrary to what we believe, deep, deep down inside, something we have pushed down and dissociated from. We believe we attacked God, right? We ruined the oneness. We turned our back on heaven, right? We were just angry at God because he wouldn't recognize us as individuals, all right? Well, don't worry about it. I can do the same things you do. Watch me now. Hey. All right? And we made all this stuff up, okay? He says, can you change your reality? And, rhetorical question, you really can't, okay? Because the reality is, you are at home in God, dreaming of exile, as they say, right? When you think you're attacking yourself, it's a sure sign that you hate what you think you are. All right? And a lot of us spend a lot of time in our lives attacking ourselves. You don't like the way you look, you don't like how much you weigh, you don't like what you eat, you don't like your activities, and it goes on and on. Why did I do that? Why didn't I do this 30 years ago? You have regrets, you have fears, because you don't like what you are, what you think you are, he says. All right, and he italicizes the word think. All right, and this and only this can be attacked by you. So what you think you are is the only thing that can be attacked by you. All right, so I think I am this Kevin, okay, with a history, all right, and hopefully a future. Because you like to be happy, But with that history, it comes all these thoughts, like I was saying, regrets and fears, but this is the only thing that can be attacked by you, is this thing that you made up, okay? This thing that you think you are. And what you think you are can be very hateful, and what this strange image makes you do can be very destructive, right? So we could do a lot of damage in our lives, all right? And one thing that Jesus is saying now, we have to remember that what Dr. Wapnick would call a level 1 statement pertains to the truth, the reality, all right? Our reality, okay? And the level 2 statements would be our experience here, all right? So the destruction is the level 2 experience, so to speak, all right? You could be very destructive, all right? But then he makes this level 1 statement, which says, yet the destruction is no more real than the image. So the things that I've done, if I've had some kind of destructive behavior in my life, right? He says that's no more real than who you think you are, okay? And as Ken also, I'm reminded, I can hear him saying now, just at times you just have to take the metaphysics, remember it, and keep it on the back burner. Keep it in your mind. All right, because we can't go, just willy-nilly saying, well, that wasn't real, I did this and that and the other thing, and I was very destructive, but it wasn't real, because I'm not real, okay? You can only say that when you get to the point when you know that, all right? When you get to the point where you're able to just walk through this experience like a lucid dreamer, right? With that serene brow, right? That tranquil look on your face, and that little wry smile. Okay? So the destruction is no more real than the image, although those who make idols do worship them. This is what he's telling us. Look, you made the idol, and you do worship it, so you think it's real. All right? All right? Don't go saying, well, it wasn't real, it wasn't me. All right? He says, because at this point you do worship that idol. Right? The idols are nothing, but their worshippers are the sons of God in sickness. So he reiterates, the idols are really nothing. Okay? Right? But they're worshipped, right, by the sons of God in sickness, in adherence to the ego thought system. That thought system, the foundation of which is sin, guilt, and fear. I did something wrong. I destroyed the oneness. Right? Now God's going to get me. All right? So we worship that because we are the Son of God in sickness. Okay? But he says God would have them released from their sickness and return to his mind. Right? That's the whole idea. All right? God wants you to be happy. All right? And you're happy in your original state. It's infinite, unbridled happiness, indescribable, when you're back in the mind of God. All right? That's what God wants. That's his will. Okay? So he wants you released from the sickness and return to his mind. He will not limit your power to help them. Right? Because he has given it to you. So it's within your power to help the sons of God in sickness. Right? And you just do that by coming inside and being willing to see the innocence, being willing to see correctly. Okay? That's how we save the world, so to speak. Okay? And he says, you have the power to do that. Don't be afraid of it. Right? You have the power to go into your mind. Right? Because now you recognize that you have a mind. And it's split, and you have to make a choice. Simple, right? So he will not limit your power to help them because he has given it to you. Do not be afraid of it. All right? Do not be afraid of this power of your mind to connect with the memory of who you are, to connect with Holy Spirit, Jesus, right? And ask, be willing to see correctly. All right? Don't be afraid of that power, because it is your salvation. All right? You will wake up from the dream. All right? You won't lose anything. See, that's the first thing the ego says. You're gonna lose something. You're gonna lose your family, your loved ones, your whatever. Your egg creams. I don't know why I said that. I used to love egg creams. But you're not going to lose anything. Okay? But that's what the ego tells you right away. You go to the mind, you contact the memory of who you are, and you're going to be obliviated. You're going to be you're going to go poof, as Ken would say. All right? Going to go into oblivion. Okay? But he says, don't be afraid of that. That's not going to happen. Right? It's your salvation. Right? because most likely you will be here, you'll still be here, but you'll be awake. You'll know what it's all about. You will have touched the memory of who you really are, right? That will be open to you, right? Which has been described by many people who have had experiences as the Buddha consciousness, the Christ consciousness, right? The awareness, right? Self-realization, all right? As the Swamis would say, right? And you would see, and you'd be able to bring that message to the sons of God in sickness, all right? And you don't need to proselytize, you don't need to preach or teach, you just need to be yourself, right? Who knows? You're a nurse, you're a teacher, you're a plumber, right? You're a truck driver, all right? You just be yourself, but you're connected to who you really are, right? And it comes through you and touches the minds of all. It just touches the minds of everyone, okay? So don't be afraid of it because it's your salvation. All right? Well, I guess it's because of the way I talk and act sometimes. My wife called me the patron saint of truck drivers. I have to ask her exactly why she said that. I think I know, though. Okay, paragraph 2. What comforter can there be for the sick children of God except his power through you? Right? Remember that it does not matter where in the sonship he is accepted. He is always accepted for all. And when your mind receives him, the remembrance of him awakens throughout the sonship. Heal your brothers simply by accepting God for them. Your minds are not separate, and God has only one channel for healing because he has but one son. God's remaining communication link with all his children joins them together and them to him. To be aware of this is to heal them because it is the awareness that no one is separate, and so no one is sick. Okay. This is basically what we're saying. All right? It doesn't matter where you are in the dream, what you're doing, what you think you're doing. Okay? You accept the atonement for yourself, as it were. All right? You connect with who you really are. All right? And you're accepting that for everyone. You're accepting the fact that you never left the mind of God. And since minds are one, you're accepting it for everyone. All right? It's just a matter of time before the individual dissociated pieces get the message. And everyone will get the message sooner or later. Later on in the book, Jesus will say, why wait? Why wait for heaven, he says. Okay? So he says, heal your brothers simply by accepting them. All right. And I like that first sentence. It really is, it's so kind, so gentle, so loving. He says, what comforter can there be for the sick children of God? Right? Look around. Look around and see how much discord and suffering is in this world. All right? And he says, what comforter can there be for the sick children of God? Because it's all brought on by the sickness of believing we're separated from our source, from believing we're separated from God. Right? Our countries believe they're separated from God, so they have to protect one another And some are more greedy than others, so they attack, and they don't care who they wipe out. Right? They don't care what kind of destruction they put on groups of people, entire nations. Right? And he says, what comfort can there be for the sick children of God? His power through you. Okay? His power through you. Right? When you have the willingness to listen to the voice for God telling you who you are, right? And allowing that to come through you, right? To heal the world. You continue to read the book and you'll see that you are the light of the world. Right? So, that being said, heal your brothers simply by accepting God for them. Your minds are not separate. God has one channel for healing because he has but one son. See, there's the idea of the oneness again. And the idea that the dissociation just kept separating, right? Making believe we were different individuals, right? And remember, we still believe that we're individuals, okay? Don't skip steps, right? So what we need to do is continually be willing and open to see things correctly, okay? You know, I don't want to skip steps, okay? So, he has but one son. God's remaining communication link with all his children joins them together. Right? That's the idea of the Holy Spirit, the memory of who you are, the communication link. Right? With all his children, joins them together and them to him. To be aware of this is to heal them, because it is the awareness that no one is separate, and so no one is sick. Right? We'll get to talking about seeing past, right? Seeing past the illusion to the truth of who the person is. Right? And that's the ability to realize that they are a son of God too. Right? It's just that they're frightened because they don't believe it. Okay? And it's not to, you know, sometimes, the ego comes in the back door whenever it can. And, you know, sometimes we see somebody, even, you know, somebody in our family or somebody you're married to, you know, whatever, your boss, you know, your neighbors, they keep doing the same things over and over again. Sometimes there's the tendency, studying the course, to say, oh, he's just acting out because he doesn't realize he's a son of God. All right? So just make sure that you truly believe that. You're truly aware of that. Otherwise, it becomes like whitewash. You're just painting over something. Okay? And you're just pushing the resentment down, the anger, the fear. All right? You always have to check yourself. All right? I didn't see the movie, but I remember the phrase, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So that's what we need to do, is check and see if I'm sincerely willing to see the innocence, sincerely willing to see things differently. Okay then, paragraph 3. To believe that a son of God can be sick is to believe that part of God can suffer. Love cannot suffer because it cannot attack. The remembrance of love, therefore, brings invulnerability with it. Do not side with sickness in the presence of a son of God, even if he believes in it. For your acceptance of him, your acceptance of God in him, acknowledges the love of God he has forgotten. Your recognition of him as a part of God reminds him of the truth about himself, which he is denying? Would you strengthen his denial of God and thus lose sight of yourself? Or would you remind him of his wholeness and remember your Creator with him? I think this is just what we were talking about. All right? And this is basically a description of forgiveness, okay? Which is the main message of the Course, is forgiveness. Okay? The remembrance of love, all right, brings invulnerability with it. All right? So somebody's acting out. He says, do not side with sickness. All right? Do not side with the belief that there's separation. Right? Even if the Son of God who's in front of you believes it. For your acceptance of God and him acknowledges the love he has forgotten. Okay. Your recognition of him as part of God reminds him of the truth about himself, which he is denying. All right? And this is all a mental process, really. All right? Although we might be moved to say something or do something, all right? This is all taking place in the mind. Right? I'm willing to see correctly. I'm willing to see the innocence. I'm willing to see the connection to God. Right? And since the minds are joined, that connection is in his mind or her mind also. All right? And if the situation calls for words or actions, rest assured you will know what to do or say. But first we need to connect with the willingness to see the love of God he has forgotten. All right? So then he asks us a question, would you strengthen the denial of God? All right? Would you go arguing with the person and, strengthening the idea that we're separate from God, we're in this big mess together? Right? Or would you remind him of his wholeness and remember your Creator with him? All right? So as we remember for him, we remember for us. All right? Giving and receiving are simultaneous. Okay? Paragraph 4. To believe a Son of God is sick is to worship the same idol he does, which is the separation. God created love, not idolatry. All forms of idolatry are caricatures of creation. Taught by sick minds, too divided to know that creation shares power and never usurps it. Sickness is idolatry because it is the belief that power can be taken from you. Yet this is impossible because you are a part of God, who is all power. A sick God must be an idol, made in the image of what its maker thinks he is. And that is exactly what the ego does. That's exactly what the ego does perceive in a Son of God. A sick God, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious and very vulnerable. Is this the idol you would worship? Is this the image you would be vigilant to save? Are you really afraid of losing this? So, the sick God must be an idol, all right? And the God that we've made here in our belief system here is, got all kinds of emotions, all kinds of whims, and, there's that phrase, the fear of God. Why would you be afraid of God? All right? Unless it's the God the ego made up. Right? He's going to come around and slap you around a little. All right? And God said, Abraham, kill me a son. Right? Abe said, man, you must be putting me on. God said, no. Abe said, what? God said, do what you want, Abe, but next time you see me coming, you better run. So Abe said, where you want this killing done? Out there on Highway 61. One of my favorite Dylan songs. But that's the God of the Bible, right? What kind of God would ask you as a test to kill your son? This is a God that was made by the ego, created in its own image, whimsical, vengeful, angry, sad, happy, right? Ready to kick some butt, all right? That's the God of the ego, made in the image of what its maker thinks he is, okay? I forget which famous philosopher said that we were made in the image of God, or man was made in the image of God and then returned the favor. All right? So we made God in our image, which is what he's saying here. Okay? And that's a sick God. And it must be an idol. It must be in place of the true God. All right? Made in the image of what its maker thinks he is. And this is exactly what the ego does perceive in a son of God. So the ego perceives in all the people that it sees, right, a sick God, self-created, self-sufficient, very vicious, and very vulnerable. So he asked the question, is this the idol you would worship? Really? Is this the image you would be vigilant to save? He goes, are you really afraid of losing this? Right? So paragraph 5, look calmly at the logical conclusion of the ego's thought system and judge whether its offering is really what you want. For this is what it offers you. To obtain this, you're willing to attack the divinity of your brothers and thus lose sight of yours. And you are willing to keep it hidden, to protect an idol you think will save you from the dangers for which it stands, but which do not exist. All right? And I like what he says, look calmly. All right? Look calmly at the logical conclusion of the ego's thought system. Look calmly at the logical conclusion of the thought of separation, to separate from oneness. All right? Is this what you want? And judge whether its offering is really what you want, for that is what it offers you. All right? So the ego's thought system offers you chaos, suffering, death, panic, right? As Jesus would say, uncertainty, loneliness, and constant fear. Right? There's always something else to be afraid of. Right? I mean, just look around at the world, look around at history, look around at current history. Right? There's always something to be afraid of, if you're so inclined. Okay? This is what the ego offers you. And to obtain this chaos and suffering, right, you're willing to attack the divinity of your brothers. Right? So you're willing to project, look, this is what they're doing, look at them, look at him, he's worse than me. Right? And when we do that, you lose sight of your own divinity. All right? And you're willing to keep it hidden. You're willing to keep your divinity hidden, right? To protect an idol you think will save you from the dangers, all right? To protect this ego that you think will protect you from the danger that it produces, that it stands for, right? So you think it will save you from the dangers for which it stands. And here's the kicker. But which do not exist. Right? In that little phrase, he's negating the entire universe. Right? Just reminding you. He's just, this is a course in miracles. Okay? It takes time to penetrate our thinking and to change our thinking, okay? And these little things come up, all right? He'll tell you it just doesn't exist, all this chaos and conflict and death and panic, all right? But he says it's unworthy to say, although that really doesn't exist, that plague doesn't exist, those people suffering, that really doesn't exist, it's an illusion. He says that's unworthy, it's an unworthy form of denial, all right? Unless you come into the awareness of the dream, become a lucid dreamer, as we say. You can't go around just willy-nilly, arbitrarily saying, oh, it's just an illusion. Okay? Don't do that when you're crossing the street, especially in Manhattan. All right? There's a lot of vehicles on wheels that may be illusory in the level one sense, but in our experience, they're pretty solid. Okay? Don't be silly. Be normal, as Ken would say. Be normal. All right? But he says, look calmly at the ego, the conclusion of the ego's thought system, the belief in separation. Okay? So, paragraph 6, there are no idolaters in the kingdom, but there is a great appreciation for everything that God created because of the calm knowledge that each one is a part of him. God's Son knows no idols, but he does know his Father. Health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven. It is not my merit that I contribute to you, but my love. For you do not value yourself. When you do not value yourself, you become sick. And by my value of you, but my value of you can heal you. Because the value of God's Son is one. When I said, my peace I give unto you, I meant it. Peace comes from God through me to you. It is for you, although you may not ask for it. All right? So he's saying in heaven, there's no worshiping, there's no idolatry. All right? There's just a great appreciation for everything. Right? Because of the calm knowledge that each is a part of him. All right? There's the calm knowledge, just a great appreciation of being in that state. Okay? And he says, health in this world, right, is the counterpart of value in heaven. All right? In other words, we appreciate what we are in that state of mind. That's the value. All right? So health in this world is like being in the right mind. Right? It's, as we say, being that lucid dreamer, being aware of who you really are as you temporarily gamble through the world. All right? And health in this world is the counterpart of value in heaven. It is not my merit that I contribute to you. Right? So Jesus is saying it's not my specialness that I give you. So it's not my merit, right? But my love. I give you my love to remember. Because in your condition, you don't value yourself. Right? So I want you to hook on to that memory of the love that you really are. All right? Because you do not value yourself. And when you do not value yourself, you become sick. So when you don't have that appreciation for being in heaven, as you aligned yourself with separation, you become sick. All right? But my value of you can heal you. All right? So that idea that Jesus is in our mind, representing who we really are. He says, my value can heal you. He says, I know who I am and I know who you are. Right? That can bring you back from the idea of separation. All right? So, and he says, when I said, my peace I give unto you, he says, I meant it. Right? Then he tells us, peace comes from God through me to you. Right? Because you believe you're in this condition. You need an intermediary. So the peace of God comes through me to you, he says. All right? And you can do the same thing because you're no different. Okay? Jesus is basically your higher self. Okay? And this is what you do here. It's for you, although you may not ask for it. When a brother is sick, wait a second, here comes my little girl, Miss Squeaky. That's her, I know what it is. It's her room service call, okay? When a brother is sick, it is because he is asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. All right, like little Dixie. She's asking for peace. All right, in this moment, she doesn't realize she has it. All right? When a brother is sick, he's not asking for peace and therefore does not know he has it. The acceptance of peace is the denial of illusion. So the acceptance of peace is the denial of this ego thought system. All right? And sickness is an illusion. Right? So the separation, the state of separation is an illusion. Yet every son of God has the power to deny illusions anywhere in the kingdom, merely by denying them completely in himself. I can heal you because I know you. I know your value for you. And it is this value that makes you whole. She has everything she needs, believe me. She just likes to call me. All right? He says, I can heal you because I know you. I know your value for you, and it is this value that makes you whole. A whole mind is not idolatrous and does not know of conflicting laws. I will heal you merely because I have one message, and it is true. Your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. Maybe I give us something to play with here. So, it says, your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. All right? When you believe what I can do, I will help you. Right? He goes, I do not bring God's message with deception, and you will learn this as you learn that you always receive as much as you accept. All right? So you receive as much as you accept. Right? You could accept peace now for everyone and offer them perfect freedom from all illusions because you heard his voice. But have no other gods before him, or you will not hear. All right? This is like the first commandment. I am the Lord thy God. Right? Thou shalt have no gods before me. Okay? Okay? So he says, you could accept peace for everyone right now. All right? But have no other gods before him, or you'll not hear God. All right? In other words, all these things that we're interested here in this world, all right? Especially, starting with this body, we're completely attracted to it, and we have to take care of it. But have no other gods before him, or you will not hear. And then he says, God is not a jealous God. All right? God is not jealous of the gods you make, but you are. You would save them and serve them because you believe that they made you. You think that they are your father because you are projecting onto them the fearful fact that you made them to replace God. Yet when they seem to speak to you, remember that nothing can replace God. Whatever replacements you have attempted are nothing. Right? So God is not a jealous God. All right? He says the gods you have made are really nothing. Right? All these things that we think are so important, all these things we think are going to save us, all these things that we think are going to give us pleasure and help us avoid pain, right? Make us safe. All these things, all right? They are the gods we made, right? And they seem to speak to you, all right? He says, remember that nothing can replace God, and whatever replacements you have attempted are nothing. Very simply then, you may believe you are afraid of nothingness. You may think that you're afraid of going poof, entering oblivion. I don't want to go to the mind and remember who I am because boom, I'm going to disappear. All right, into nothingness. He says very simply, you may believe you're afraid of nothingness, but you are really afraid of nothing. Right? You're really afraid of nothing, which is the ego. Jesus likes puns. Right? You're not afraid of nothingness. You're afraid of nothing. And in that awareness, you are healed. So you're not afraid of who you really are. Right? You're afraid of this ego thought system. That's where the fear is. And in that awareness, you are healed. You will hear the God you listen to. Right? You will hear the God you listen to. You made the God of sickness, and by making him, you made yourself able to hear him. Yet you did not create him, because he is not the will of the Father. He is therefore not eternal, and will be unmade for you the instant you signify your willingness to accept only the eternal. All right? So you did not create the God of the ego. You didn't, because it's not eternal. It's not God's will. You only create what God wills you to create, right? Which is your true function in heaven, is the extension of love, of everything, abundance, happiness. See, we use words which diminish the experience, actually. always have to get that little, all right? Yet you did not create him because he's not the will of the Father. He is therefore not eternal and will be unmade for you. All right? So this ego will be unmade for us. The instant you signify your willingness, right? The instant you signify your willingness to accept only the eternal, okay? The same, very lofty way of saying, I'm willing to see correctly, all right? I'm willing to see the truth. It's like he says, come with wholly empty hands unto your God. Right? You signify your willingness to accept only the eternal. And he says, don't be afraid of it. Okay? You're not going to disappear. If God has but one Son, there is but one God. You share reality with him because reality is not divided. To accept other gods before him is to place other images before yourself. You do not realize how much you listen to your gods and how vigilant you are on their behalf. Yet they exist only because you honor them. Place honor where it is due, and peace will be yours. It is your inheritance from your real Father. So peace is your inheritance from your real Father. All right? You cannot make your Father, and the Father you made did not make you. Honor is not due to illusions, for to honor them is to honor nothing. Yet fear is not due them either. For nothing cannot be fearful. Right? One of those phrases that you have to stop and you go, what? What do you say? Nothing cannot be fearful. Right? So the ego cannot be fearful. Right? So fear is not due to the gods of the ego, to this world, to this body. He says that fear isn't due because nothing is not fearful. You have chosen to fear love because it is perfectly harmless. It is perfect harmlessness. And because of this fear, you have been willing to give up your own perfect helpfulness and your own perfect help. Right? You have chosen to fear love because of its perfect harmlessness. So we've chosen to fear love because we think we're going to lose something, lose the ego and everything that comes with it. Right? And because of this fear, you're willing to give up your own perfect helpfulness and your own perfect help. Right? And that help is capitalized. So it's the voice for God. It's the Holy Spirit. It's Jesus. All right. So you're willing to give up being a channel of love, and you're willing to give up being connected to the voice for God, to the memory of who you are. All right. But remember, it doesn't make you bad, it just makes you miserable. All right. Don't be guilty for doing that, in other words. It's what we do. It's why we're here. What we're trying to do is undo it. All right? We're trying to have it undone for us, as he says here. Okay? Paragraph 11. Only at the altar of God will you find peace. And this altar is in you because God put it there. His voice still calls you to return. And he will be heard when you place no other gods before him. You can give up the god of sickness for your brothers, In fact, you would have to do so if you give him up for yourself. For if you see the God of sickness anywhere, you have accepted him. And if you accept him, you will bow down and worship him, because he was made as God's replacement. He is the belief that you can choose which God is real. Although it is clear this has nothing to do with reality, it is equally clear that it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it. Okay? So there's the choice, right? The ego was, and its whole manifestation was made as a replacement of God. All right? And this idol is the belief that you could choose which is real. All right? We could choose which is real. Although he says clearly has nothing to do with reality. All right? It is equally clear, though, that it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it. So he says, you perceive this ego thought system as real, when it really has nothing to do with reality. All right? And when we perceive this ego thought system as real, you're sick. You're a little sick. A lot sick, actually. All right? But it can be undone. All right? Thankfully, gratefully, it can be undone. And then peace and happiness will be ours, because it's our inheritance. It's what we belong. It's where we belong. All right? It's how we're intended to exist in peace and happiness. All right? So we choose, or we think we can choose. So by tapping into the memory of who we are, we allow Jesus to work his love. Let it work through us. All right? And that love clears up the perceptions. All right? We ask to have our perceptions changed. Oh, wow, this is what I think is real. All right? And this is my reaction to that reality. But I'm willing, I'm truly willing to see correctly. All right? I'm willing to connect with love. All right? I'm willing to be helpful. Okay? So he says, if you accept the ego, you're going to bow down to it. All right? Because he was made as God's replacement. All right? This idol is the belief that you could choose which God is real. Right? And although it's clear it has nothing to do with reality, it's equally clear that it has everything to do with reality as you perceive it. This is what we need to do, is have my perception changed. Help me to see correctly. All righty. Now I can go see what's troubling little Dixie. All right. Until the next time, all right. Change those, or have those perceptions changed. Work on undoing, having the ego undone. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.